As a youth worker, I work to make young people feel supported, just to explore their identity. I give them a safe place to go. I offer new opportunities for them and help them with their decision making. Just make sure they feel empowered and in control of their lives. I chose youth work for one because growing up I benefited so much from being in a youth group setting. I made like-minded friends, I had positive role models, though I didn't really know it at the time, and just unique and fun experiences that I still remember to this day. So when I realized that youth work is something you could do professionally, I thought, what a great just job opportunity to explore and see what that's all about, and give young people the same or similar experiences, life-fulfilling things that I had growing up. When I decided I wanted to explore youth work, I did my MA in Community and Youth Work, and with the MA, I really just dove in head first into different youth work organizations and youth work settings through placement, and just that opportunity to see youth work from different angles and really reflect on my practice and speak with my tutors and supervisors and just constantly be in conversation with other youth work practitioners who are further along in their careers and can offer me advice. Open Access Youth Club basically means that young people don't need referrals or don't need to pay a fee to access our services. It's inclusive for all young people of any background, and it's quite informal. There is no set structure to it. I chose Open Access Youth Work because I think it really centered young people and their voices. With Open Access Youth Work, again, there is no set structure or set plan really, so it's quite informal, and we hear from the young people to see how they want to shape the youth club or what they want to get out of sessions. I like that every day is different in the youth club and you're constantly on your toes and you're meeting all different kinds of young people every single day, and you get a lot of funny stories out of it. So when you're out with friends and there's a quiet lull in the conversation, you always have a story in your pocket to tell them. With young people, you really shouldn't be taking yourself too seriously because they'll humble you really quick. I think being able to make quick judgment calls and being able to just be aware of what's happening in a room and notice things that can maybe easily be overlooked, and really leaning into those things. I think my biggest strength as a youth worker is being a silly goose. No, it's my biggest strength as a youth worker, I think, is one, the joy that I bring. I think I'm naturally like a very bubbly person, so young people respond really well to that. But then on the other end of the spectrum, I'm quite well with masking when I feel really nervous. So young people can really lean into that for me, where they will tell me these things and maybe inside I'll be freaking out, but on the outside I'm like really calm, and they respond to that well. My biggest accomplishment is really just figuring out what kind of practitioner I am and developing my own youth work style, because everyone has their own unique style. And it's a work in progress, but leaning into what being a lead youth worker is and what that entails. My proudest moment as a youth worker, I can't think of one specific moment, but I feel especially proud, and I feel like we've done really good work when we're in a session and young people are just laughing hysterically and they're being themselves, and yeah, they're just having fun. One of my favorite memories in youth work is my youth club wedding that the young people pulled off. That's probably at the top. What motivates me is that young people, despite having a whole day of school or a whole day doing whatever they were doing with their lives, they chose to come spend time with us at Mary's, and they chose to just be there in whatever shape or form that is, or whatever emotions that holds for them. Like, they brought that to us and they brought that into the space and felt like it was a safe enough space to bring all of those things. I think that is what motivates me the most. Okay, so with building relationships with young people, I think just being myself, because young people respond really well to authenticity and they know when you're faking it. So when being my natural bubbly self, they almost immediately ask about my American accent, and they'll come with loads of questions about that. So I'm really quick to be like, yeah, you can ask me anything about growing up in the US, and that is like another draw in. And then from there, just remembering the things that they tell me and asking them about it later. Just the little things that go into building any kind of relationship is remembering like small details about them and then asking them about it later, having fun with them, keeping it lighthearted, but then knowing when to kind of lean in and ask more serious questions. I think that's when you know that there's a kind of breakthrough and trust is really starting to develop there. My personal style would just be not being afraid to be really silly and joking around with them. With working with young people, be one, not taking yourself too seriously, because again, they will come at you quick with those backhanded compliments. Two, realizing that youth work really isn't black and white. There's always nuance. And three, trusting your judgment as a professional and just being confident in that, knowing that just as there is no one type of young person, there is no one type of youth worker, there isn't a cookie cutter perfect youth worker. We all come with our own strengths and skills and passions, and those are all things that you can utilize in your time with young people. When working with young people, you are investing in your relationships with them, and just like any relationship, it takes time and it takes consistency. But with that being said, I think it's really hard to shut off, or like when you get home you're no longer in work mode, because for me, often when I get home I'm thinking like, oh, I should have said this to a young person, or I should have done that with them. I often really think about, or I'm quite intentional with how I'm building my relationship with a young person, and that is just something that I can't easily switch off. I think because we often get them straight out of school, seeing the fatigue that they have after a school day. A lot of their experiences in school is that it's quite regimented, for one, and also the complexities of like their different learning styles, how they learn best, how they process information best. Schools, from what they're telling me, don't always cater to that very well, so it can be even more of a struggle for them. And then also, I think with youth work, we just see head on the complexities of their developing brains. Checking in with them, making sure I check in with all of them, making sure like as soon as they come in, someone greets them and make sure they know that like we're happy to see them, and just wants to hear about their day and make sure that I get that time to sit down with each of them and just hear about their day or hear about whatever it is that is on their minds or whatever they want to bring into the session. Well, I'm the lead youth worker, so that means I oversee the entirety of the youth club program. So I guess to make sure it stays successful, I want to make sure that the team, in whatever sessions they lead, feel fully supported in that, and that we feel like we have good communication both ways, and I can help them in areas that they feel like they need more support, and vice versa. Okay, so the first thing that comes to mind is with Junior Youth Club. Before the summer, we were realizing that with the juniors, which is age 10 to 13, for when we were getting really high attendance in that session, to the point where the room that we had in the building that we normally operate was getting way too small and feeling really cramped. And with the juniors, they really needed a space to kind of just let out all that energy that they feel from having a whole day of school. They just wanted to run around and play games and feel like they were really, I guess, feel like they were free to do all of that, and the building that we had just was no longer a suitable place. So we just started doing Junior Youth Club in Popham Community Center. I feel like the young people feel like that this is really their place to just run around, and there's good free flow in the building. We play games, they can be as loud as they want, they're screaming the whole time, and that's all okay because we're the only ones in that hall. So I think with the new building, this is a way more suitable place for them to get what they want to get out of Junior Youth Club. Okay, a typical work day it's a funny question because when we do youth club, the young people think that the 4 hours or so that we spend with them is our entire, is all we do. That's it. It's not. So usually I come in between 11 to 12. I might have some meetings with people in the community. We're really connected with other youth practitioners in the Islington area, which is great. Or I'm working on some session plans. I might be figuring out the youth club program for future sessions and what we can do to make it better. And then that's when, once evening time hits, we start getting ready for youth club sessions. Then we do the sessions, and then we have up to an hour of debrief talking about how the session went, how it could be made better, how the young people found it. So I feel like my whole day revolves around the young people, even if I just see them for 4 hours max, but they're constantly on my mind. Also, throughout the day always responding to their texts on WhatsApp. Is when young people are supporting each other. I love to see that, whether that's they're trying something new or they're trying something out of their comfort zone, that they felt like in that moment or in that session that they felt confident enough to do it with their peers, like with their peers by their side or with their peers cheering them on, and then having done it and being like, oh, that was so scary, but I want to do it again, or I love doing that, or this is, yeah, I think that is when I know it was a success, when the young people felt comfortable doing something out of their comfort zone. Yes, my advice for someone wanting to get into youth work is explore all the different types of youth work there is out there. Like, there isn't just open access. Maybe you do like more of a structured setting. Maybe you want to lean into more of like the mentorship or therapeutic side of youth work. Whatever that is, make a list of what your passions are, what your interests are, and then just explore, because there are so many different types of positions out there that you just wouldn't know exist until you explore them yourself. So find one that's the best fit for you just by putting yourself out there. And just being really open to learn. I love youth work for one because of the community or the sense of moderators amongst other youth workers. And my experience is that the practitioners are always just so open and sharing their skills and knowledge with you. So there's so much, well, there's so much knowledge that can be shared, and just be open to learn. Balancing my work and personal life. It is really impossible, I feel, to leave youth work in the office or leave it at the youth club, because whether I'm out with friends or family or I'm just scrolling on my phone, I'm constantly seeing things or doing things that I'm like, oh, the youth club might like that, or maybe I can incorporate that into sessions. But as best as I can, when I get home, like, that is family time. That is the time to relax. So whether that's like reading a book or making myself a hot cup of tea or just being really playful with my dog or playing Animal Crossing with my husband, like, that is sacred time. And also getting at least 9 hours of sleep. As lead youth worker, I just really want to own into my position and feel really confident. And it's easy to say, or it's easy to tell people to feel confident in like the judgments that they're making. And in my head, I know that I'm a youth worker, or I know that I'm a good youth worker in my head, but sometimes I don't feel like it. So I often get in my head, but luckily I have a good team and a good manager that helps me kind of just vent and gives me that space, whether that's in like, it's usually in reflective supervision or in team debriefs, to be honest about where I'm at, how I'm feeling, and we just troubleshoot it together and we work through it together. And every day is a process, but I'm constantly trying to just do the best that I can. In 5 years, I'm in my 30s, but I'm slaying still because the young people are keeping me alive. They're keeping me young forever. I'm still relevant. I'm not crusty. They're saying now that your 30s are your new 20s. Like, that apparently is when you really get it figured out and you're locking in. So maybe I'll have it figured out by then. I think the nicest feedback I received, though not one specific feedback comes to mind, but generally, it means extra because I don't get to see them often, but the parents, when they take time out of their day to send me a text on WhatsApp or to come up to me after a session and just tell me about how grateful they are for their child to have a place like Mary's to go to. Like the other day I was talking to a mom who I just ran into on the street, and she stopped just to tell me about how much she is amazed by her daughter's growth and how much more confident she feels and how much better she is at taking responsibility and ownership of things, and friends as well, just like the friends that she was able to gain at Mary's. That alone was like, wow, if I'm getting parents like seeing the impact of it, that must mean something. Yes, there are so many ways that you can donate, whether that's with your time or your resources. Nothing is too small. Like the other day, someone donated their old Xbox, and we were like, yes, we can take that. Thank you to whoever